Hello, wrestling fans. Welcome to SICW All-Star Wrestling. I'm Drew Ebenhouse here with Lucky P. Larson, Esquire.
Who manages the two-time SICW Tag Team Champions, the LA Hustlers.
Maybe not by the time this show is over, ladies and gentlemen. Your TV main event is a tag team title match. The LA Hustlers will take on former champions Gil Rogers and Billy McNeil. The big Texan is here. Your classic wrestling champion will be in action. The world heavyweight champion of the AIWF, the Golden Boy, Greg Anthony, is here with us. And we're going to have some words from Belleville's own Bobby D. That is all today, but now it's time for some wrestling. Ladies and gentlemen, let's head to the ring for your opening contest. Ladies and gentlemen, your opening contest is set for one fall, 10-minute time limit. Introducing first, making his SICW debut from Hannibal, Missouri, weighing in at 300 pounds, Salem Gust. His opponent is from Belleville, Illinois, 282 pounds, your rightful Bruiser Brody Memorial Battle Royal champion, Bobby D.
Oh, please. He doesn't have the cup. He's the rightful nothing.
The bell is rung. Your action is underway. Referee Bill Henson, look at Bobby D eyeing up this newcomer, Salem Gust. We don't know anything about Salem.
You don't know anything about Salem.
But,
I know a lot about Salem.
Tell me.
Well, it's a town in
Nice.
Massachusetts. They used to have witches there in the 1600s. It's also a brand of cigarettes.
Alligator roll from Bobby D. I tell you what, that's the amateur wrestling background of Bobby D on display there.
Good for him. He can score points, and this big Salem
Not
dude
only
can beat the heck out of
score
him.
points, but he can control the action and put his opponent where he wants him.
Hey, I take that personally because Salem is a town in Massachusetts. They should not be saying Salem sucks.
Nicely done. Arm drag, bringing the big man down. I'll tell you what, that's how you handle somebody that you don't know anything about. You just keep him off his feet, and that's what Bobby D, with his amateur wrestling background, can do.
Well, no matter how big you are, everybody's the same size when they're off their feet.
That's it. Nice chop to the big man. Of course, make it to SICW, home of big wrestlers. Of course, our champion,
none
Big
of
Texan,
them,
your man,
That's
Kowalski.
right. None of them as big as Kowalski.
Peyton Ayers, we just saw, is 6 foot plus, 300 plus pounds.
Oh, look at that! Look at that!
Nicely
there
done.
You go.
Oh, my God.
Cover him.
Fall away
Pin
slam.
him. Beat
And
him.
Salem just held Bobby and tossed him like a baby.
I like that.
Big
Boom!
splash.
1, 2, 5. Ah!
Bobby D, you can see the look on his face. He doesn't know what hit him. I tell you what, that's a 300-pound
I was going to say, 300
falling right
pounds
on
hit
top
him.
of you.
There you go. Stay on him. I made a mistake.
I tell you what, this Salem, though, we've only seen him for a few minutes, but seems like he's well versed. He's thrown strikes. He's got some holds. I like what we've seen so far.
Well, that's just not very nice. He's going for an injured leg. See, he should fight fair. I would never do that.
Yeah. There's Bobby D working on that left leg of the big man. Oh, man, just stretching it all the way out. That'll hurt your tendons, everything in your knee. It'll hurt your
You're
thigh
trying to
muscle,
say
your
hamstring.
calves. Trying to say a lot of things. A lot of words were
Obviously.
trying to come out at once there.
Yes. See, I give Bobby D credit. I mean, he's a thief and he's a glory hound, but he's not stupid. He works on a part of the body, and if this big man's leg can't hold his weight, then he's not going to be nearly as effective.
Oh, look at this. Big man was going for a head of hair or anything to try to get the momentum going the other way. He's fighting this Salem Gust.
Is a head of hair anything like a handful of hair?
Yes.
Oh.
Just turned into a little bit of a brawl here. The wrestling match turned into a fight. Salem was fighting off of the ground.
Yeah, and he's holding his own.
Bobby obviously came out with a game plan. He's sticking to it. Look at this. Going for a sharpshooter, scorpion deathlock type maneuver. We'll call it a Belleville leg lock for Bobby D.
Oh,
look at this. Sean Vincent, he just loaded up the boot on the apron. The boot caught Bobby D right on the side of the head. Sean Vincent out of nowhere.
He wasn't out of nowhere. He was out of the back.
Oh, my God. This issue between Sean Vincent and Bobby D is not over. It's involved the Central States title. It's involved the Brody Cup. And now This didn't have anything to do with Sean Vincent.
Of course it did.
Bobby
Did you not hear what Bobby D was saying about Sean Vincent's mom throughout that entire match?
No, and you didn't either. Bobby D had it under control. Nice matchup between him and Salem Gust. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see what would have happened. Sean Vincent making his presence known, sending a message to Bobby D. Bobby D will be the winner via disqualification, although doesn't look like much of a winner at the moment.
No, he does not. And quite frankly, what would have happened is Salem Gust was about to reverse the sharpshooter. Bobby D was about to tap out, and Sean Vincent saved him from having to do so.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am here with the AIWF World Heavyweight Champion, the Golden Boy, Greg Anthony. Mr. Anthony, welcome back to All-Star Wrestling. Last time we saw you, you were in a bad way.
Yeah, you know, Axe Allward, he likes to dump people on his head, and he took an opportunity to dump me on my head. But as you can see, I am alive and well. I am walking. I am talking. I am your World Heavyweight Champion.
Yes, sir. Now, here's what's exciting and why we've got you out today. In September, I believe it is the 23rd, we are going to a place that I know you know very, very well, Sandoval, Illinois. And while we don't have a challenger quite yet, because we've got quite a list of challengers for your world title, we have signed. There will be a world title defense in Sandoval, Illinois, September the 23rd.
Absolutely. And like you said, I wish upon a star that it's going to be Axe Allward. But if it isn't, then there's a locker room full of guys that are young and they're hungry, and some guys that are big and they're bad. But guess what? The bigger they are, the harder they fall. And they will fall to the Golden Boy, Greg Anthony.
Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard him, and that is why he is the defending World Heavyweight Champion, Golden Boy. We can't wait. Sandoval, Illinois. Get your tickets September the 23rd. Thanks, champ. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, time for some more wrestling. Let's go to the ring. Ladies and gentlemen, this matchup set for one fall. 10-minute time limit. Introducing first, making his debut from Memphis, Tennessee, weighing 275 pounds, the X Factor, Quad Mack. And his opponent is the reigning SICW Classic Wrestling Champion from Gun Barrel, Texas, 371 pounds, the Big Texan.
I have one question, Drew. I have one question for you.
All right. Referee Andy Anderson calling for the bell.
Drew, I have one question for you.
Yes.
Who did this Quad Mack piss off?
I don't know. Somebody, he made somebody mad somewhere.
I was saying, you want to bet on this one? I'll take the Texan and give you 1,000,000 to 1 odds.
Yeah. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
This is why we have the matches. Anything can happen once the bell rings. Just imagine how much it would shake the foundation of SICW if in his first match, Quad Mack can defeat the Classic Wrestling Champion.
You do that, that happens, I will never mention Missy Hyatt or my greatness again. Now, who are you rooting for?
He's bringing it right to him. I like underdogs, personally. But I'm friends. I'll say it. I'm friends with Texan. He's always been good to me. But, I'd like to see a newcomer do well here. Uh-huh. We know exactly the challenge he has in store in the Big Texan.
I got to give him credit. So far, Texan's not been able to get out of the block.
There you go. So, Quad Mack.
The only thing is he's got to absolutely stay on him, because as soon as the Texan has time to breathe, this guy's head's going into the front row.
Going for an Irish whip.
And
it
there
is
you go.
Reversed into the corner.
And there you go.
And out. Sorry,
good night, folks.
Sorry, Quad.
Drive safe, everybody.
Quad Mack, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. It is the Big Texan with the Lariat getting the job done in record time. Your Classic Wrestling Champion is victorious today.
So, did I mention how I know Missy and I'm the best?
You've mentioned it.
Ah.
This referee giving him a hand. That's the reigning champion standing victorious. That Lariat is as deadly as ever, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we return, the World Heavyweight Champion, the Golden Boy, Greg Anthony, will be in action right after this.
SICW presents Saturday, September 9th. No disqualification. Anything goes. Night Train. Gary Jackson versus the Evil Attila Khan in a boot camp match at the Belclair Fairgrounds. Plus other matches on the card. SICW, Saturday, September 9th. Anything goes. No DQ. SICW. Be there.
3, 2, 1, fight.
Wrestling fans, there's nothing better than barbecue and wrestling. When you're hungry, stop by Mr. Barbecue with 2 locations to serve you in Columbia and Waterloo, Illinois. Great barbecue, cold beverages, and SICW wrestling.
Ladies and gentlemen, this contest set for one fall, 10-minute time limit. Introducing first from Turner, Kansas, 225 pounds, Billy Joe Black. His opponent is from Amityville, Illinois, weighing 235 pounds. He is the reigning AIWF World Heavyweight Champion, the Golden Boy, Greg Anthony. Referee Nick Ridenour is in charge of this non-title match.
So he's afraid to put the belt on the line, is that what you're saying?
I don't think Greg Anthony's afraid of anything.
He should be. He's got an entire locker room of guys coming after him.
Well, he's used to that. Where if you're a world heavyweight champion, you got to be used to everywhere you go. The entire locker room, the entire wrestling business wants to be the world heavyweight champion.
Do you?
No.
All right, well, then you just proved your own point wrong.
Good. Nice side headlock takeover from the champ onto Billy Joe Black.
I also never realized that Greg Anthony is apparently the epitome of the Amityville horror.
All right. He's not. He's just from there. That's okay.
These guys look like they could be brothers.
There are some physical comparisons there. Similar heights.
Hair color.
Hair color, indeed.
Build.
Greg Anthony's got this one right where he
Pulling
wants
his
it.
hair. You're going to tell me you didn't see him pull the hair that time?
I missed it.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Oh, man. Hard chop to the chest of Billy Joe. Hey, make it 2. Now, there's a little bit of fantasy matchmaking you can do here with Greg Anthony. I know traditionally he's been on the crowd side. He's a fan favorite. Oh, Billy Joe got out of the way. Anthony right into the turnbuckle.
I was going to say right there, he was the favorite of the turnbuckle.
Absolutely. Of course, last time we saw him, he was being carried out of here.
I enjoyed
on
that.
a stretcher at the hands of Axe Allward and Axe's pile driver.
I enjoyed that.
Greg Anthony, he's healed up. He's ready to fight. He is back. So you have to face these challenges. Axe Allward wanted a piece. He won a title match. He got one last time. Flash Flanagan, I heard, even though I would think they might be on the same side of things, Flash Flanagan and Greg Anthony, I've heard doing some jaw jack and a little trash talking.
Believe it or not, I've actually managed against Greg Anthony within the last month or so.
Well, there you go.
He had to cheat to win.
So that's probably not good that you've been scouting out the world champ.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Billy Joe got the boot up, stopped Golden Boy right in his tracks.
The only reason he's still champion and I don't manage the AIWF champion is because he cheated and paid off the ref.
I doubt that very much.
Were you
Look
there?
at that. He telegraphed that one to Billy Joe. Billy Joe boot to the face of the champ.
Were you there in
Greg
Jackson,
Anthony got out of
Tennessee?
there. I wasn't there, but I know your methods pretty well. And if you say that something happened, it's usually the opposite.
Uh-huh.
Oh, man, how about that? A right to the face, just a punch to the champ. Hey, make it going toe-to-toe.
I'm telling you, you got to admit this. Greg Anthony had a little bit of trouble with Waco. He's having a little bit of a hard time with Mr. Black.
That may have something to do with the decision of making these non-title matches.
That's exactly right. This man is a coward.
The competition here in SICW is very steep.
And he is very scared.
Nicely done. Elbow drop sends Billy Joe Black to the mat. Golden Boy thinks he's got this one in control. Beautiful stunner.
He obviously heard me and is trying to prove a point.
3, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Your World Heavyweight Champion victorious today on All-Star Wrestling, Sandoval, Illinois. There's a little bit of taste of what you can expect on September the 23rd.
He's
AIWF World Heavyweight Champion getting adulation from the crowd, victorious on All-Star Wrestling.
He's a one-trick pony. He's got one flashy move.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for a commercial break. When we come back, it's time for this week's Promoter's Corner. Don't go anywhere.
Wrestling fans, for all your massage needs, visit the Restorative Massage Center located inside the Sheer Technique Salon in Troy, Illinois. Masseuse Shauna has been a licensed massage therapist for over 10 years, and she customizes each massage to meet the needs of her clients, performing Swedish deep tissue and trigger point therapy. For all your massage needs, contact Shauna with the Restorative Massage Center.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is time to take a trip to this week's Promoter's Corner. Let's go there now.
Good evening and welcome to this week's edition of the SICW Promoter's Corner. I'm Herb Simmons, and it's my honor to come to you again this week with another special edition. And when I say a special edition, it truly is. This week, it's not been a very good week for our business. A few days ago, as I'm sure you know by now, it sent shockwaves around the world that we lost probably one of the greats of all time in Mr. Terry Funk. Terry Funk was a star, an icon wherever he went, whatever territory he worked in, whatever federation he worked for, it became the Terry Funk Show. And he did that because of the love he had for each and every one of you, the fans. I had the honor of becoming good friends with Terry through Larry Matasek and Sam Muchnick many years ago in St. Louis. Terry Funk loved St. Louis. He loved the fans of St. Louis. He talked about it all the time, no matter if I would just call him on his birthday and wish him a happy birthday or whatever holiday it may be. He'd always talk about his days in St. Louis, how he enjoyed Sam and that young whippersnapper he used to call Larry Matasek. It's always was great to have that conversation with him, and then when we would have him in town, just to be able to take some car trips with him. And yeah, you may hear the same story over and over a couple of different times or a lot of times, but each time they was just outstanding road trip stories that Terry Funk was able to remember and tell us about. And it's just, it was a sad, sad day this past week when I got the news of that. Like I said, fans from around the globe were still posting pictures of their encounters and their memories of Terry Funk. And that's kind of what we want to do here tonight, is just take you back when I had Terry in town. I was fortunate to have Cowboy Bob Orton Jr. that night, along with Larry Matasek. Let's take a look at that right now.
Hello, SICW fans. Herb Simmons here. We're at the East Cron Lake Community Center, and what a big night we've got here. We've got some of the greatest talent, as you know, in the business, but also tonight we've got some legends here with us. If you look at this panel right here, we got in the middle our great friend that is the spark behind the knock of SICW, Larry Matisek from the days of Wrestling at the Chase, which you all know. To his far left right there, WWE, every legend you can think of, Hall of Fame, none other than the Cowboy, the Ace, whatever you want to call him. We call him our good friend here at SICW, Cowboy Bob Orton. And then this gentleman right here to the right of Larry really doesn't need any introduction, but I'm going to anyway. The Rattlesnake, whatever you want to call him, Mr. Terry Funk is here with us. Larry, what an arsenal of people.
It's an arsenal of people who really all had parts to do with Wrestling at the Chase. When Wrestling at the Chase began in 1959, nobody knew if it would stay. Nobody knew if it would last. Before long, it had made such a big imprint on the people of St. Louis that now, I can't walk around anywhere where somebody doesn't come up and say, I remember Wrestling at the Chase. I remember when you did the commentary. I remember when George Abel did the commentary. I remember when Joe Garagiola did the commentary in 1959, 1960. I remember when Cowboy Bob Orton's father, it was Randy Orton's grandfather, when Cowboy Bob Orton's father, Bob Orton, was on the first Wrestling at the Chase show. And I remember when the Funks first came in. They first came in, Dory Jr. in 64, if I remember right. And in 1966, Terry Funk came in. Bob, since you're the oldest here now, we talked about your father. Had you heard much about St. Louis by the time you came here, where you had a chance to wrestle in St. Louis itself?
Not really. I worked for Sam just a couple of times, and I come in after that for Vince. But no, I didn't hear a whole lot about St. Louis, except Dad loved to work for Sam. So I knew that because he was one of the best guys in the business as far as the money went, I think. So Dad liked coming to St. Louis.
Well, and then coming to St. Louis, and of course it was a big deal then. And when the Funks came, they actually got to wrestle in the Coruscant room of the Chase Park Plaza Hotel. And I guess, Terry, that was a little bit different, wrestling in the Coruscant room with all the ladies in gowns and the men in suits.
Well, the ladies in gowns, that was true. And the guys in suits, it was totally different than any place else in the entire United States. And it was the premier area for professional wrestling of all places in the United States. There wasn't a bigger place than St. Louis because it was a center of the country, and it was a center of wrestling at that time, and just absolutely loved coming up here. It was the biggest thing that ever happened to me. Was the first time that Sam ever asked me. He says, Terry, we'd like for you to come up here. He had taken my father and my brother before, but it was like, holy mackerel, I'm going to St. Louis, and just loved every minute of it, and loved the people that I was around, and I've never been to a big city like that before, truthfully.
Well,
Amarillo was pretty large at that time compared to anything that I'd been to.
Well, of course, Terry Funk, he's belittling his own stardom by then because he was already starting to get a big name within the business, as well as his brother Dory Jr. was. Bob, you made some comment about Sam Muchnick there, and of course he was the National Wrestling Alliance president. Back in his day, he probably had as much power of a different sort than Vince McMahon has today. Did that make a difference to you, hearing things like that?
Everybody respected Sam. There's no doubt about that. The whole wrestling, what would you call it here?
Community.
Right, community.
He ran the country at that time. Sam Muchnick, that was considered the center of the country, and you come up here and wrestle in St. Louis, and it was like wrestling in the Garden, wasn't it, at that time? It was the Garden. Kiel Auditorium was the Garden at that time.
And of course, we think of that, Kiel Auditorium. I remember talking to the late Jack Briscoe once. He said that was like Wrigley Field. He said that was Madison Square Garden. He said that was just one of those towns that you can't believe you're in when you go into Kiel Auditorium. And I guess for both of you, because you'd heard so much of the history about it, Kaniski beat Thez there.
Kaniski beat Thez, but Bob's father, he was a star up here, and so was my father before we ever even got here. And it was just the place to be in the entire world of wrestling. It wasn't, you didn't want to be out in L.A., you didn't want to be in Toronto, you didn't want to be in New York City, you didn't want to be in Florida, you wanted to be on top in St. Louis, and it was because Sam Mushnick was the powerhouse of wrestling at that time. And that's where you could get your biggest push of all in the country.
I guess one of the things that happened to Bob by the time you got here, Bob, and I was involved more in the promotion a little bit more than just doing the television. Sam was on the verge of retiring and then did retire. I guess that took away a little bit of his power in terms of when Terry was here. If you could get in the main event in St. Louis earlier, certainly in the 60s and early 70s, you were going to be in the main event everywhere, in Japan or otherwise. I don't know if it was quite that way when you were here, was it?
Yeah. It was really big. St. Louis. The NWA was big.
It was
sure.
big.
Sure, Sam was, like Terry said, Sam was the man for quite a while.
The NWA.
He was the man, and absolutely New York hadn't gotten that big at that time. Definitely St. Louis was the number one town in the United States at that time. And Bobby
got on the card here, you were really doing something.
Thrilled to death.
And of course, other promoters then wanted a part of you. Now, it didn't happen for Bob, though it could have happened, because I remember seeing your match at Madison Square Garden with Bob Backlund for the WWF title, where you guys had a 30-minute match and no punching. It was amazing. You went 30 minutes. The crowd was screaming the whole time, no punching, and you came within a hair of knocking Bob Backlund off for that title. Terry Funk won the NWA championship and had it for a long time before he was caught by Harley Race with an Indian deathlock and tore up his knee. Terry, what was it like to be the NWA heavyweight champion?
Very busy. You had a whole lot of promotions across the country that you had to go ahead and wrestle for. And but believe me, it was something that was considered a terrific honor to me. There couldn't have been a greater honor than to carry that belt, and I did, and it was only for a short time,
It wasn't that short of a time.
About a year.
I guess about a year.
1 year.
I remember right after that, and of course, if I don't bring this up, Herb Simmons is going to swat me in the head, because he liked these movies. He liked the movies you did with Sylvester Stallone, and he particularly liked the ones you did with Patrick Swayze. Talk about your movie career a little bit.
Well, that's all I can talk about, is a little bit. No. The career, I had a wonderful time out there. I did it for a purpose and reason, because at that time, Bobby will tell you, we had nothing as far as insurance goes for a wrestler. If you got hurt, you had to dig into your own pocketbook. And what I did is I discovered that out there, if you made so much money, you were vested. And you were vested for retirement, but you also got your insurance after you made $15,000 in a year. And I would go out there and try to go out there until I made the 15, then I'd go ahead and go back to wrestling again. And that way they had to cover all of my insurance and everything else. And after about 15 or 18 years, I thought, well, I've only got a couple of years to go till I get retirement. So I went ahead and put in a couple more. So now I am a retired artiste.
He's a retired artiste. Is he a retired wrestler? I have to tell this story. One time, I guess this was right about when you did the first movie with Stallone. I picked you up at the Warwick Hotel in St. Louis, downtown, where the office was. We gave you a ride out to this TV studio, and we talked about the way the timing worked out on booking TV shows and on Wrestling at the Chase. So I kind of told you, you could probably get by with working 3-4 times a year here, because we did 3 shows a day. And you were talking about retiring then. Geez, you were talking about retiring then. And, since then, you've retired, I think, at least 45 times. And you still haven't retired from wrestling. I don't want to see you retire.
But the next time is going to be my real last wrestling match.
I wrestled Terry for the World Heavyweight Championship in Florida in
tell me.
75 or 76 maybe. He was talking about retiring then.
You were wrestling when he had the belt?
Yeah,
And he's
he was
gonna
talking
retire.
about retiring.
Well, he says he's going to retire, and I remember, Larry,
I was saying I was going to retire when whenever I went ahead and went to the arena as Bob's first match, I was talking about retiring.
well, as Larry remembers, you were back with the SICW back in the 80s, and since then we've tried to get you back up here, and every time I would call you, he'd say, I'm retired, I'll think about it. Well, I finally got him back here, and we're glad to have you here in East Carondelet. You've seen a little hospitality tonight from the fans.
Absolutely. Just the same thing as always. Come to St. Louis, and those fans treat you great and treat you with respect. And
of course,
but you know what? As Bobby is just like I am, and by golly, we understand what a wrestling fan is, and we give respect back to him too.
Well, and that's what we do at SICW. We're just trying to keep the old tradition alive. And when you look at, like I said, the panel we got here tonight, Larry Matisek, of course, is the voice of St. Louis wrestling for many, many years. Cowboy Bob Orton and Terry Funk. That's what SICW tries to do. When you got the locker room of the Ron Powers, Big Daddy, Travis Cook, and the list goes on and on. I think you guys have seen some of that talent here tonight.
Let me bring up something here, too, that also comes up. Of course, we talk about Randy Orton, and of course, everybody knows he's been a superstar now with WWE, and he's certainly made many, many steps forward. I don't know if he's done more than you have or not. We'll have to talk about that someday. But actually, Randy got a lot of his start here with some of the guys that are at SICW. He worked out with them.
Yes, he did.
Fill us in.
Gary Jackson. I spent a lot of time with Randy. And Ron Powers spent a lot of time with Randy. And he really appreciates. He always asks me how them guys are doing and everything. He's never got too big. He likes to talk about them. And he shows respect for his elders, which a lot of youngsters don't do nowadays.
No, that's true. But again, it's all part of that St. Louis tradition, SICW, keeping the St. Louis tradition alive as much as it can with that type of wrestling. And I know as we sat here and we were looking at some of the interviews, Terry leaned over to me just before and he said, "You got a pretty good-looking crew here." So
That's right.
thank you. That was a compliment. It was a compliment to you, Herb.
That was a compliment to this organization up here, because you really do. You got a pretty good-looking bunch of guys, and you got a lot of them, and some of them that I know, and I know that they're really helping out up here.
Well, and Ryan and Herb, you should take credit for that yourself.
First class. It's first class too, and that's important.
Well, thank you, and again, Herb, take some credit for this yourself. You've made SICW run.
Well, it's a pleasure to work for her.
Well, it's all about the fans, as we said. I remember Larry telling me, and Sam Muchnick one time said, if you don't have the good workers and good fans, there is no show. Sam used to say you got to put the butts in the seats, and that's what we're trying to do. So we just want to take a few minutes, let you see these legends, and you're going to see a lot more of the SICW in the future, and we can't thank the fans enough. Stay tuned.
What an interview that was, to be in the room with three legends, such as Larry Matisek, Cowboy Bob Orton Jr., and of course the late Terry Funk. It was an honor to be there, honor to have them together again, all three great friends, great individuals, and just to hear the stories that they were sitting there talking about the business. It amazes me a lot of times. I'm that kid at a candy shop when you sit around with somebody like Terry Funk and listen to all those stories. During the COVID, as you all know, there wasn't a lot of wrestling going on anywhere, and we tried our best to keep the SICW fans up to date on the wrestling world. And I was very fortunate again to do a phone interview. I would periodically call and check on Terry to make sure how he was doing. And so we did a little interview one day, and I got some of that, and I want to play just a little bit of that for you right now. That's during the COVID time, so take a listen to this.
Well, and it's kind of what Jerry said. He said him and Jack, when they knew they were booked on a card against the Funk Brothers, the people were going to get their money's worth, and it was going to be a long night's work. So yeah.
That is so right. It's so physical. It was very, very, very physical with those two nights.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Nature Boy, Ric Flair.
Oh God, what an individual and what a guy. I loved him. In-ring performer, and out-of-the-ring performer. He did a great job of performing at all of the bars across the nation.
Yeah.
I loved him.
He did.
I loved him. He was a class.
And to think he's still.
He was something special.
Well, he had the in-ring and out-of-ring persona. That's what made him the Nature Boy, I guess.
I don't know. I don't know what made him the Nature Boy, but he was an amazing individual. He was, and thought the world of Rick. I really thought of him as one of the truly great ones. He and Harley both, they would go night after night.
Oh, yeah.
After night, and for year after year.
Well,
they loved what they were doing.
Well, I think that's one thing.
And they did it well.
And I think that's one thing that people didn't realize back then. Not only was it a rugged time in those hard rings, but the miles that you put on between those towns, the road trips, had to be grueling at times.
Absolutely, and those guys were just the greatest. They were the epitomes of what professional wrestling was about. It was about a love of your sport. It was about being tough guys. All of those things were so important.
Right.
And being capable of handling yourself.
Yeah. I've got another. As you know, I got.
Rick went out and drank beer and everything else. But one thing that he did do is he treated that championship belt with great respect. And so did Harley.
Yes, they did. I'll tell you.
And you try to tell me that goddamn place up there in New York with Vince as a champion that could have competed with one of those.
No way.
I don't think so.
No way. As you know, I got another one of your good friends that runs my wrestling school, the Cowboy Bob Orton.
Cowboy Bob is a hell of an in-ring performer and a great competitor. And that, and his pop, Bob Orton Sr., he was tougher than nails. Yeah. And Bobby was just like his daddy.
Yeah, well, that's why.
Tougher than nails.
That's why we.
And you better watch yourself.
Yeah.
When you're in the ring with him.
Yeah, we've got him doing the.
If he'll get behind your ass, he won't let go.
Yeah, he takes care of our Ace Wrestling Academy up here, and some of these young boys are seeing what some of the old school's all about. And
I'll bet they are.
Well, and that's what I told him. I weed out the ones who we don't have a lot of time for, and I don't want them wasting their time or their money. So let's put him through the grind at first. So, but every time I talk to him, he'll say, "Have you talked to Terry? Tell him I said hello." So.
You tell him I said.
Yeah.
I got great respect for that boy.
Yeah. Talked to another one of your guys he mentioned a couple weeks ago, David Schultz, Dr. D.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
He's another one.
Yeah, you talk about tough as nails, I'll tell you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
Another one. I ran into another one of them is Teddy.
Oh, yeah.
DiBiase.
Yep.
He came down and, unfortunately, my wife passed away.
Yeah, we were sorry.
And it really affected me, and Teddy did the service for her.
Yeah, I had Teddy in for a show after that, and I'll tell you what, he was still choked up about it because you and your wife meant so much to him, and he was honored that he was able to come and do that for you. But that guy's got a heart of gold, I'll tell you.
Well, it was tough.
Yeah, really tough. And that's I said I wanted to go back out to Vegas. I remember the night that we were out there, and you and Stan Hansen. That was the night Bruiser Brody was getting honored, and Barbara, his widow, was there with us. And I still never, in fact, I've got it on tape. The speech that you gave that night. I mean, you could hear a mouse crawl across that floor of about 700-800 people in there, and I could tell you were really giving it from your heart, that Brody had meant a lot to you, and you and Stan both. And that was just a terrible thing back in 1988, I'll tell you.
Yeah, it's a terrible thing. It was absolutely something that should have been followed even more than what it was. And they should have investigated that more.
Exactly. So,
and I don't know what happened to the guy that did it. I don't know if he got out in 2 years, if he got out in 5 years.
He never went to jail.
Or if he's still in there.
Never went to jail.
I know he's not in there.
Yeah, he never went to jail. Yeah. Never went to jail. Yeah, it's a sad day, and that's why we do the Bruiser Brody Memorial every year. We had to postpone it this year because of this coronavirus, but Barbara and I are going to do it. In fact, we had it planned.
Would you tell her hello from me?
I sure will. She's another one that talks about you all the time, and Darla and Mercy and all of the girls, Tony Goria. Every time we're together, everybody talks about Terry Funk. So
I hope so.
Your ears ought to be ringing all the time, I'll tell you, because
that absolutely means a great deal to me.
Well, it does. Like I said, I spent this the last weekend with Jerry Lawler down in his operation, him and Bert Prentice, and as soon as I walked in, I asked if I'd talked to you lately, and because the last time you guys were together, you and Jerry did that match down there at the Oman Arena, and I was down there for that.
That's right.
And of course, that was your last match, but I think over the years I've seen you have a few of them. I still think you got it in you. I'd still like to do that one with you and Flair.
Can't do that one.
So
I wish we could do that one.
Tell our listeners now what's Terry doing now? Enjoying the grandkids, or just kind of what's your day like?
My days. Well, I'll tell you what. I've got dadgum abdominal hernia.
Okay.
And I don't know if you've ever had one or not. They're not a pain in the ass. They're a pain in the abdomen.
Oh, yeah.
And they certainly hurt. And I've been living with it, trying to find a doctor that can take care of it, and haven't found one yet.
Well, man. That's man. We got to get somebody to take care of that. I mean, there's people getting hernias taken care of all the time. So.
Well, maybe we can find somebody.
Maybe I need to get you back up here to St. Louis.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'd like to. If I can help you, I'm definitely going to do that. So speaking of your career. Couple of questions before I let you go. If you had to say the guy that you just dreaded to ever look across that squared circle from, or that ring, and knew it was going to be a terrible night, who would that be? I'm putting you on the spot there.
I'm trying to think right now.
Yeah.
Who would that be?
Yeah. I mean,
Would that be?
somebody.
I looked across the ring.
Yeah, who?
Saw somebody.
Yeah.
Well, there's so many. There's different eras.
Yeah.
But hell, if I looked when I first started, I looked across the ring and there was Lou.
Oh, yeah.
And Lopez he had those cauliflower ears, tough individual. Gene Kaniski,
Big Thunder.
tough individual. Then we march on, and along comes Harley. And, is Harley's partner.
Yep.
And, gosh,
It'd be a tough one.
It just kept on marching,
Yeah.
And it really did. You go to Japan, you get in the ring with Anokis and all of them, and by golly, there's tough people around the world.
Oh, yeah.
You go to, and I've been all over. Go to Europe, a lot of tough guys in Europe.
Yeah.
But I really think that the toughest bunch of guys, and I truly mean this, honestly and seriously, from the start, is from the St. Louis area. Because they brought in all of the tough guys from all over the United States. And that's right.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They brought them in from all over. And they had the ability to bring them in to fly them in, fly them back out, and pay them better than anybody else in the country.
Well, and they said that was kind of like Sam's trademark. They said he was one of the honest payoff guys in the business, and that's what he always told me. If you treat the boys right, when you call them, they won't say, they won't even question it. They'll just be there. And so far, he was right.
He was right.
Yeah.
Sam was a great promoter. I loved him. Loved the people in St. Louis. Loved Gaslight Square. Couldn't have been any better place. It was just a great place to go.
Well, I told you earlier that I have the collection of the wrestling at the Chase that Larry Matisek and I had and had reproduced, and I told you earlier that I had just acquired the library of Dick the Bruiser's stuff from his wife, Louise Aflis. So I want to preserve that along with that St. Louis material because, one, I don't want Vince getting his hands on it, and because nothing to be done with it. So, but there's a lot of good footage there. Some of that Bruiser stuff dates back to the 60s, and that's all the TV tapings. And so I was fortunate to get that with the help of a good friend of mine. And so we're going to preserve that. And that Dick the Bruiser, you had some matches with him, didn't you?
I had not a lot of them, but I had several matches up there.
Right.
And a match or two with him in the Denver area.
Right. So. Yeah. So on the other side of that coin, who, if you had to say the guy that you just felt like it was a dream match, who would that have been?
Oh, gosh, probably Harley.
Oh, I was going to say, yeah, you had told me that before, and then I remember some of the matches. I mean, you talk about guys that were on their A game.
I knew that whenever I went in there, I was going to give 100%. And Harley knew when he went in there, he was going to give 100%.
Right.
And probably did a lot of beating on each other that probably didn't make us do better in later life.
Yeah. So
that's the truth.
So is there anything, if you had to do it all over again, would you do anything different?
That's a mighty hard question. It's not an easy
No,
question.
it's not. But you went on. You went on and you did some movie work. I watch Roadhouse every time it's on. I don't watch it for the Patrick Swayzes or anybody like that. I watch it for the Terry Funks.
That was a very successful turn in my life.
Well, there you have it. Just a little bit of the conversation that Terry and I had, and as you can tell, what a guy he was, and those memories will stick with me forever, and I know they will stick with you, because as they say, he may be gone, but I assure you, he will never be forgotten, especially here at SICW. And now we're going to get back to some more wrestling, and then we'll see you next Sunday night right here.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am here with Bobby D. Bobby, you've had an interesting couple of months regarding the one and only Sean Vincent. Of course, the Central States title has been in the center of all of that. The Bruiser Brody Cup has been at the center of all of this. And what I want to talk to you about is the last time we talked to Sean Vincent, he said he's not going to bring the cup out to ringside anymore. We haven't seen him with it. We don't know where your Bruiser Brody Cup is.
Well, right there, that's the point of this whole thing. He sits there and says that he won the Bruiser Brody Trophy. My feet never hit the ground. When I clotheslined him, he hit that ground pretty dang hard. I remember that very vividly.
Me too.
Yeah, and he wants to say that Canada is the safest country. Go back to Canada. You guys can't even control your wildfires. This is the greatest country, first of all. Second of all, if I got to fly up to Canada myself and go to the dungeon in the Maple Leaf Ranch and get that trophy, I will find him and I will get my trophy back.
Well, you know what Sean Vincent said? He blamed it, he turned it around onto the people. He said he didn't want to bring it out here in front of the audience because he didn't trust the SICW fans.
Trust, he wants to talk about trust. All that guy's good at is hiding behind a keyboard, talking trash, cheap shots, and running like a coward. That's all he does. You want to talk about trust.
That's it. Well, you heard it, ladies and gentlemen. Bobby D, he said it, willing to go to Canada if it need be. Bobby, I hate what's happened to that cup. Hopefully you can make it right.
I will make it right. Mark my words.
All right. Thank you, good sir. Ladies and gentlemen, your rightful Bruiser Brody Battle Royal winner, Bobby D. Thanks, Bob. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our final commercial break for today. When we return, the Tag Team Championships will be on the line. Don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, your TV main event is for the SICW Tag Team Championships, set for one fall. TV time remaining when the action begins. Your referee is Mr. Bill Henson. Introducing first your challengers at a combined weight of 399 pounds. First, from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, Gil Rogers. His partner is from Springfield, Billy McNeil. Their opponents are accompanied to the ring by Lucky P. Larson, Esquire, from the City of Angels, weighing 504 pounds. They are your reigning, defending, two-time SICW Tag Team Champions, Rough Shot Lamont Potts, Notorious Bradley Diggs, the L.A. Hustlers. Ladies and gentlemen, the bell has sounded. Your main event is underway. The tag team titles are up for grabs. This may be one of, if not the biggest test to the LA Hustlers and their tag team stay here in SICW. They are the current champions, two-time champs, the LA Hustlers. However, Gil Rogers and Billy McNeil, once upon a time, were also the SICW Tag Team Champs. These are former tag champs, so this is a heck of a challenge that the LA Hustlers are facing. And Gil Rogers, using his technical wrestling acumen, has this one started exactly how he wants it. Now, it was once upon a time on this very show that Billy McNeil and Gil Rogers won the SICW tag titles in 2022. Unfortunately, that reign ended as soon as it began because that's when Gil Rogers acquired his quad injury that required him to be on the shelf for over a year. He had 2 surgeries on his quad to repair it. So the last time we saw Gil Rogers and Billy McNeil teaming up, they were, in fact, the tag team champions. Can they pick up that success right where they left it? We shall find out. They were a pretty well-oiled machine. We'll see if they can recapture the magic that they had some, 16 months ago, I think it was. And they really bring 2 different skill sets, 2 different styles of wrestling to the squared circle, talking about Billy McNeil and Gil Rogers. Gil Rogers, a very technical, a very scientific wrestler. Billy, he's the opposite. He's quirky, he's unpredictable, and you really don't know what he's going to do or where it's going to come from. If they can get on the same page, they really would be a force to be reckoned with. Nicely done, nice tag. Look at that, nicely done, smashing the left arm of Bradley Diggs. Obviously, the notorious one, the largest man in the ring. Billy's got his work cut out for him. Billy McNeil giving up about 100 pounds to notorious Bradley Diggs. Staying all over that arm. Bradley Diggs needs to figure something out. Nice tag. Gil Rogers are going for a double Irish whip on the bigger man, Gil and Billy. Nicely done. Staying all over the big man, non-stop offense, and that's exactly what you're going to have to do if you want to take the titles away from this team. Oh, look at that. Bradley Diggs distracted the referee, had him look the other way, and then went right to the low blow on Gil Rogers. That'll switch the momentum quickly. Now Lamont Potts, Bradley Diggs getting out of there. The fresh man, Lamont Potts, to see how he can fare against the challengers. Oh, beautiful drop kick from Rogers to Lamont Potts. Very intelligent. Always go for the cover. That's what you're here for. Arm drag sends Potts down, and he just clinches down on that arm bar. Got him right where he wants it. Oh, and see the Hustlers, they've had to resort to some dirty tactics to reverse the momentum every single time, whether it be low blows, rakes to the eyes. Now they're choking him. Bradley Diggs choking Gil Rogers with a T-shirt. Unlucky P. Larson, there you go. This is what they do. Oh, right hand sends Gil to the mat. The thing about Gil and Billy, they like to fight fair, but against this team, we've seen it. Oh, there, look at the cheap shot from Potts to Billy. Shoulder blocks to the midsection of Gil Rogers. The champs in control of this one. Snapmare takeover. Followed up with a shin to the face. Gil Rogers gets out of there at 2. LA Hustlers, of course, now the 2-time SICW champs. Not too long ago, of course, our champions were Cowboy Bob Orton and Tony Atlas. The Hustlers took advantage of an instance where Tony Atlas missed a flight. Flash Flanagan stepped up to help Cowboy Bob defend those titles, and it was too much. The cheating, Lucky P in the briefcase, They got the job done, and they got the titles back. And I hate their methods here, but this is the kind of defenses that the Hustlers are going to have to make to really earn respect here in SICW, not just from the fans, but from the wrestlers in the locker room. Rear chin lock has Gil Rogers planted. He can't get to the corner. He'd love to make the tag to the fresh man, Billy McNeil. You hear the fans chanting for Gil, trying to send him some energy. The Hustlers, look at that. They are a well-oiled machine, ladies and gentlemen. And what's dangerous is it seems like they know the rules, but the problem there is they know the rules just so they can bend them and know how to break them. And they're very successful at it, especially when you add a weaselly lawyer giving them advice the whole time. That's going to be a dangerous combination to overcome. Headbutt to the lower back, the kidneys of Gil Rogers. Rogers into the ropes. Oh, telegraph that back body drop. Look at that, Gil Rogers with a leapfrog. Leaped into the corner. He made the tag. Billy McNeil's a man on fire. Nails Potts, nails Diggs. Elbow to Potts, elbow to Bradley Diggs. Boot to Lamont Potts. Billy McNeil has the champs right where he wants him. Insiguri to Bradley Diggs. The challengers getting some momentum going if they're going to try to get something done. Now's the time. Mr. Wrestling to knee lift. If they can make the pin, I think this is it. We're going to have new champions. But Lucky P. Larson, this is what he does. We've seen it with Stephen E. We see it now with Lucky P. Larson. Billy McNeil with the springboard cutter should have this match won. We should have new champions right now. Biggs used the briefcase, reverses the pin. Lamont Potts with the 3. Son of a... I thought they had it. Billy McNeil and Gil Rogers on multiple occasions were seconds away from regaining the tag titles, but the LA Hustlers and stinking Lucky P. Larson in that briefcase stayed one step ahead. And whether we like it or not, ladies and gentlemen, they're your winners of your TV main event, and they are still your champions, the LA Hustlers. Ladies and gentlemen, it was a great episode of Wrestling Action despite what we just saw in that main event. Bobby D picked up a disqualification win in our opener against newcomer Salem Gust. Salem got disqualified. Sean Vincent, the loaded boot, stuck his nose in Bobby's business, kicked him in the head. Bobby won, not how he wanted to win, but he got the job done. The big Texan picked up a quick win over certainly an underdog, a newcomer in Quad Mack, big Texan, with the lariat showing why he's the classic wrestling champion. We saw the AIWF World Heavyweight Champion, the Golden Boy, Greg Anthony, picked up a win over a very competitive Billy Joe Black with the Midas touch. Greg Anthony, you will see him in Sandoval September the 23rd. And you just saw it, the LA Hustlers, little bit of help by Lucky, little bit of help with the briefcase. The LA Hustlers are still our tag team champs with a hard-fought win over the former champions, Billy McNeil and Gil Rogers. It was a heck of an episode of action, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us, as always. For Lucky P. Larson, I'm Drew Abbenhouse. We'll see you right here next week on SICW All-Star Wrestling. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.